Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Constant Agitation, our weekly podcast. We're having a technical issue. Oh, I forgot it playing on my phone when I was checking if the stream is going live. As always, I'm your host Jimmy, joined by Eva.
Hi guys, how you doing?
You're good.
Hmm.
Your camera is a bit too high.
Okay.
Sorry about
I'm a bit too short maybe.
that. How's it going?
Very nice. Very happy Friday. Super excited about today's episode.
It is a cool one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like we're having some connection issues. The synchro bitrate.
Same is here with us.
Hey. All right. So what do we have for the episode today? We have some really exciting stuff.
Yes.
But first, you want to get into a question.
Yes, so this wasn't a question that it was posted maybe directly to be addressed in the podcast, although I feel like it is because the person commented in one of the podcast episodes. You were having a conversation about cameras, and we got the question that they would like to hear us talk about our process when we choose what camera to get next. So what is our thought process? What things do we worry or we care more about when we're choosing our next camera, and so on and so forth.
Yep. And the conversation, I remember we got a comment asking about two specific cameras, right? It was the Mamiya 6
Oh yeah.
versus the some kind of a Bronica 645 camera. And here's the thing with they're not, for me, thing is that they're different frames.
Formats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're using the same film, but they're shooting in different aspect ratio.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a big deciding factor, for example. I feel like, personally, I'm used to when I'm holding a camera of that form for it to be a rectangle instead of a square.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember us having this conversation when I was telling you that I really want to get a DLR, and you were like, yeah, that would be nice, but like I kind of prefer not to have this, like the limitation of the square format for the composition, I feel like, yeah, you enjoy more shooting a rectangular frame than a square frame.
Yeah, although I think I don't mind using the square. It's just not in that specific form factor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I had enough training shooting square to get the frame intuitively the same way I do with the square, with the rectangular format. So I think that's a very important factor to consider when you're going into a new camera. Even when I was shooting digital, I realized that I loved my Micro Four Thirds, and I remember I always changed the aspect ratio from 4:3 to 16:9.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like to have this.
I also like that format a lot, that aspect ratio, yeah.
Right? And so, even though I was losing some part of the sensor, when I get the raw file in Lightroom, it will give me those extra stuff that I didn't compose with. And sometimes I end up moving it. So I'm glad to have these extra bars on the top and bottom. But and that's back in the day, like that's when I was just happy to have a camera. Now it feels like it's the whole experience. Like it depends on the job. It depends on what kind of photos you're taking with it. It depends on where you're going with it. Is it weather sealed? Is it not? Does it matter? There's so many different factors, and I think the most important thing is to know your style and know what you like to shoot, and then from there you can look for the perfect camera that fits your style.
I would also argue perhaps that knowing what you like and what you're good at is good when you're gonna get a new camera and thinking of a new camera. But I also think like film photography cameras give you so many opportunities to learn new stuff, because cameras can be so different in the way that they're used, and in the not only in the way that you compose if you have a 6x6 versus a 645 or a 6.7 or a 6.9, but also like how how automatic or automatic or semi-automatic the camera is. It's gonna allow you to learn different things about photography. So I think that also plays a big role into like, okay, do I want just a camera that's gonna meter everything for me, or do I want a camera that is gonna slow me down and is gonna allow me to think more about the photos that I'm shooting? So I think that's also like a big part of choosing what's next, right?
Absolutely.
Because when we were thinking about, like, I remember the last experience of us getting a new camera where it's like we're gonna put a little bit of money down, not just these thrift stores finds that we put like 20 bucks down, but it was a little bit more money. It was the TLR. It's like, okay, I want a TLR that is fully manual, so I can take the time. And that was like what narrows down, okay, which ones. And then it's like, do I want something that has a fixed lens, or do I want something that has interchangeable lenses? How much of flexibility do I want to have in the future with this camera or not?
Mm-hmm.
So it is actually not a simple question, like what camera do I get next?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like for me personally, I like the cameras that forces my hand to do more work. As much as I enjoy shooting the RZ, but because the automatic mode is there, I end up using it for convenience. And then you know what happens. I don't get the exposure the way that, like, it meters really nice, but sometimes it misses. Sometimes I'm thinking, when I'm looking through the viewfinder, I'm thinking, that might be too slow or too fast. But maybe, you know, I'm not a machine. Like, my eyes are not designed to meter light. I have a good judgment, but I trust the light meter. And sometimes I get disappointed.
Yeah.
When I use my dedicated spot meter, I know I'm going to get a good exposure. I'm going to get the perfect exposure. And that's the thing. When I was using the 4x5 that we borrowed, I think unless there was something that misfired because there was a lens that didn't work so much, but with the working lens that we had, I think all the exposures were spot on, because the camera forces you to take the time, double check, triple check, and then get the exposure right. And at the same time, that camera will inhibit you from taking some exposures that another camera that will allow you. So if you compare it to something like a Minox, for example, even a medium format camera, you know, you can't walk around and take photos like properly metered photos with a 4x5 the same way you can do with an RZ. You can, but it's not as convenient, or as, you know, it's a different thing. So I think it's an important factor to kind of imagine and envision what you're going to do. How do you want your experience to be?
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about film is that there are decades and decades of camera design models that are available for us today that we can pick and choose from. Some of them are going crazy in price.
That's true.
But I guess, I don't know, I guess that's a good thing. I guess that means that more people are shooting, and we all know that that's true.
Yeah, demand and availability. I also think that, as you say, like film has a lot of years of run. There's a lot of different cameras and different ways, so there's a possibility for everyone to find something they like. I feel like someone here is commenting that for him the camera is, if the camera is beautiful, is important, and that's something we didn't mention, but it is a big factor, especially for me. You know that there are a couple of cameras that I just got because I wanted to look at them and to have them, and I was maybe a little bit with one of them a bit disappointed because I wasn't so happy about how it did. But of course, I mean, cameras can be incredibly beautiful. So that could be also a reason why you might get your next camera, just because you like how it looks.
I 100% agree. It looks like we're having some connection issues. I see the bit rate is...
I see it very well.
Yeah, but you're not monitoring the audio through the stream, so I'm wondering if you guys are hearing us well or not, because it seems to be our connection.
Like always, let us know if there's any issues with the stream. It will be very helpful for us.
We apologize about that because it's out of our hand at the moment. It seems that the connection the internet line is not working as usual.
Miguel says the audio is good.
Cool, perfect.
Perfect.
Good to know.
And the video sometimes jumps, the only thing.
Yeah,
That's the last.
that's it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like going down and up
Alright.
the connection speed. I mean, he also brings up an important question, saying, "What if you already have a camera?"
Yeah, that's
The
the camera that will be used for most things. That's mellow.
Does there have to be the next camera?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be.
But I feel like people like us that are in film world, I know very, very little people that have just one or two cameras. And I think it's because this like side of having so many options and many different ways of shooting and different ways of aspect ratio and different formats like 35mm, 120, 4x5, 8x10 if you get the crazy. All these things, it's like I feel like you would be missing on something if you only have one camera, right? And I do advocate for like having one camera and really focus on learning, not just get hung up on the gear acquisition syndrome, which a lot of us have. But I think with the time, not exploring other cameras would be a little bit of a loss.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, we can cut back to one of our previous episodes where we talked about Vivian Mayer.
Yeah.
And even though she did have multiple cameras, she did most of her work with one camera.
Yeah.
And I think that is exactly what it depends on, because Vivian work was very similar. Like the type of work that she did was kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, that's how it is. You don't want to try to do different things. You just want to keep doing what you do and get really good at it and just have a huge body of work, right? And that's a beautiful thing. It doesn't take away from it. It's great in its own manner.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to somebody who wants to try different things, like the stuff that we're going to get into today,
yes,
you might have to build your own camera.
Yes.
You know, we talked about, I forgot the first name of the artist, Bucklow, who made his own camera from a giant box. And the 25,000 pinhole camera.
Yeah, we talk about that.
You know, so that's the beauty about playing with light and using it to make art, is that the possibilities are endless. You can
There's
do
no
so
limit
many.
to it. Yeah, as if you know the basic concepts that makes it, then you can play with it and try to kind of push it to the limits in a sense.
I mean, you kind of already have a camera if you have a window.
Right. This is what we learned this week and what we're gonna talk about next in the episode.
So let's get into it. How about that?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I've been secretly obsessed with this guy.
Yes.
For a while. I just, every time he posts something on Instagram, I just look at it for half an hour and I keep showing it to you. And you say, I already saw it. And I'm like, but look at it again. Look how beautiful it is. I just can't stop looking at his work. And the man we're talking about is Brendan Barry, who is doing really, really, really cool work.
Very interesting and very good.
With a, well, how would you describe it?
How would I describe it? Well, he is doing photography work with the most basic, simple concept of a camera, which is a camera obscura, which is basically a box with a lens. And the lens will project the image that is on the other side of the lens, and then with that you can create an image. Exactly. That's basically that's the basic concept of photography.
That concept exists in every camera. In every camera,
yes. And in other machinery that is used for other stuff, but also in every camera, yes. Yeah. So he exploits this to a level that is really interesting and really cool, not only for the photos that he takes, but also for all the bigger projects that he works with. So he's a camera maker, I would call him, apart from a photographer, because he literally turns anything into a camera. Yep. That's one of the cool things that I learned about him.
That's the thing. That's the cool thing, that if you break the camera to its most basic components, well, we have a lens, and we have a light tight box, and then we have a surface where the lens projects on, and that surface copies the image, right?
Yes.
So what he did basically is he took the box and went crazy with it.
Yes, he just make anything a box, basically.
He actually, I've been watching his work for a long time, And I was, like racking my brain, trying to figure out how I knew there was a possibility of making a direct positive, right? But I wasn't sure. I just look at it, I think about it, and I don't do my research. And then I went ahead and I was like, maybe I should look into it. And I did that a while ago. I realized that, I forgot the name of the company, but they do make direct positive black and white paper, which you can buy and use. It's slightly more expensive than normal paper that you use in your dark room.
For people that are perhaps not so familiar with like paper and how you make prints and stuff like that, when we're talking about direct positive paper, it means that you don't have to go through having a negative on a film emulsion to then make a print of it, but you basically take a photo on paper directly, and that paper would have a positive image. Basically, it is what you see with your eyes.
Yeah. I wonder if they can use it to make prints out of positive film, but I don't know. We can look into that later.
Yes, let's not complicate more the issue.
So here's the thing. Again, to simplify it even further, when you get a print made, a lot of you know, but for those who don't, you put your frame in the enlarger with a projector, and it shoots the light through the negative onto a piece of paper that you place there after you set your framing and everything. And then you expose that sheet of paper. It's light sensitive. Usually for black and white, it's orthochromatic, so it's not sensitive to red light.
Yeah, that's why you can work with a safe light in the lab.
Exactly. And then after you project the image for a few seconds, you can take that paper, put in developer, fix, and then you have a black and white photo. The same process can be done with color paper, and that's how you get color images.
Yes.
But that process is done in complete darkness, and later on, they develop these machines that after you project the image, it will do the thing it will take and comes out on the other side. They even make machines that will shoot LEDs at the C-type paper.
Yeah.
And then
basically that's how you get the print.
Develop it, and then you just get the ready print.
Yeah.
I think Nick Carver did a video about printing where he talks more about this machine. So the idea is that if you can shoot the light
into a surface,
why can't you directly make an image with the paper, right? And so because the R4A, is it R4A? RA4 paper, which is the common paper
it's the normal paper, for color prints.
That's usually it's the whole process is designed to work with negatives. So the paper is designed to be sensitive to the light shooting through an orange negative.
Yeah, an orange negative,
And then usually these enlargers, they also have filters. I think cyan, magenta, and yellow. I'm not sure about the yellow. Probably, yeah. These are the print colors. And then you adjust your exposure, put it in the chemicals, and get a color photo.
Yeah.
All right. So we got the technical stuff out of the way.
Yes, kind of.
All right. We got very nerdy. We apologize about that. But if you're interested, here it is. And as always, timestamps down below.
Yes.
All right. So what do you think now?
So I think we can, before we talk about his chemical process, which is very interesting, I want to talk about how he makes his photographs, which is talking about the concept of camera obscura and making a camera out of anything, because I think that's pretty cool of what he does.
All right.
And then we can talk also about Abelardo Morell, which does similar things with the camera obscura concept. So as we said, the camera obscura is basically a box. You put a lens, you get a projection of whatever image is on the other side of the lens in a plane. And actually, this is all as fire, almost, I would say. Maybe not as all as fire, but it's really all. The concept of making this camera obscura is all, and it used to be used not for photography, because photography didn't exist yet, but it was used to paint. And to recreate images from reality. And I sent you a very cool link with a representation of the 1800s, I think it was.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Because I thought it was kind of funny to see it like that. Because it's the same concept as photography, but instead of having a light-sensitive material inside that will get your imprinting of the reality, you have a little man inside that is making a painting.
Wait, let me pull up the picture.
Yes.
So now you can go ahead and describe it.
Yeah. So it is, as we said, it's basically a box, and the box has a lens, and the lens is going to get the image from the outside into the inside, into this plane of projection. And then you have inside a person that will use that to trace and to make the paintings. So this is the very proto-photography concept, I would say.
And the cool thing is that you can do that in your bedroom.
You can.
Brendan, the artist that we're going to talk about, one of the artists we're going to mention today, he actually turned out to have a YouTube channel where he made these quite long videos, but very interesting. I watched one of them twice yesterday, actually, because I watched it by myself, and then Eva came and was like, you have to see this, and I rewatched it. Maybe two of them, actually, I rewatched.
Yes.
So interesting. And you can see how he make these photographs.
With the same concept as this.
Yeah, and I have to say, I want to get into the technicality of it, and that, like, there's some secretive information that seems to be
yes.
Because as I mentioned, the paper is not designed to be used in that way.
To make a print, yeah.
From direct light.
Yes.
It's designed, what did I say? It's not designed or designed?
It's not designed.
It's not designed to take photos. It's designed to make a print. So in order to expose the real light that is coming through the lens, you need to use a lot of filtering.
Yeah.
And maybe adjust your chemical process as well. Because with color, you always have different color shifts depending on temperature, concentration, and all that stuff. So Brendan seemed to be quite secretive about his process. He's not necessarily sharing all the details. And I understand. I've seen other people who are doing it. Matt Marrash has really from Large Format Fridays. He had a really cool and informative tutorial on the subject on how to do the process itself. But I feel like I understand why Brendan is doing that. He's that's his thing.
Yeah.
He's doing it. He spent a lot of time and effort.
And he's a teacher as well.
Yeah. So. I don't know if he does teach the specific process in his courses, which is completely fine. It's nice to share the information, but it's also nice to, make something out of your hard work. And so I don't have any hard feelings about it. I have to say that I respect his work, and it makes me want to do it myself, and because you notice when we were looking at different results of people who tried this, they all have a certain look,
very specific look. Yeah.
And I think maybe with the errors that we get when we end up trying it, we might like a different look.
You get a specific, the
right?
crunchy look. Do you want to go into the more specific details of how this process looks like, and why is it different, and why is it so cool to look how it works?
Yeah, I'm now looking at a pumpkin camera.
Okay.
This is a camera that he made out of a pumpkin.
Yeah. As I said, he basically turns everything into a camera.
It's so cool. All you need is a lens on one side, and
I mean, this one is a little bit more elaborated because he even put bellows and everything. So
yeah. Usually he focuses with the back plane. So let's look at this. This is one of the prints. This is a large paper. You will see how big it is. And by the way, I think I should mention that the colors look beautiful. But
I mean, it's amazing work.
It is. But, these are not the real colors still.
No.
So that's the thing, is that it's not necessarily super accurate, but it's beautiful and stylized. And
artistic in itself, yeah.
Well, absolutely. You can see here how it turns from black and white into color. And I think this is one of the the most magical things in photography, is when you see these photos just emerge, which kind of mess up with your head in a way, because we're always that's not how color prints work.
No.
You should do it in the dark. How is this happening?
Yeah, so do you want to tell what did you discover, and what did you end up learning about the process?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, you guys, if we're getting super nerdy for you, you can tap out, or
we try to simplify it. Don't go away.
All right, so here you can see
It's
this
really
is a
cool.
smaller print, and you can see how it starts as a black and white, and then he swooshes around in some kind of liquid, and again the colors start coming out. If you're listening to this on audio only, please check the link, or as usual, we'd love if you come and hang out with us live. And then here you can see. So what's happening here? This is this bath that the photo is in right now is actually the color developer. This is the first developer of the RA4
Paper.
chemistry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, RA4 is very similar to color film
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that you have a developer
Mm-hmm.
and Blix,
Yes.
and that's it. That's the whole process. You can use other stuff to archive it or preserve it, whatever you want. But these are the essential two baths.
Mm-hmm.
So one is developer and Blix.
So the developer basically reacts with the particles in the paper that have reacted to the light, and then the Blix will bleach it, so take away all the other ones, and then fix it, which will be make all the elements there fixed to the paper and be there forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how is he taking it out of
Yeah,
the
someone
camera?
says here, it's magic. Yeah, it is.
It is magic. So if you can see here in this picture, you can see there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Bath.
6 trays
Yeah.
with different liquids inside of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first ones are normal black and white chemistry.
Yes. This is the trick here. This is why you see a black and white picture, put under the light into another liquid, and then change into a color print.
Exactly. So what's happening is that the picture is being developed as a black and white image.
Negative, actually.
Negative. But it's not being completely fixed yet.
Yes.
So what he does is, or how the process goes, because this is an old process and existed before. So what happens is that you put your paper in the darkness, in the complete darkness, not even a red light.
No. Darkness.
You put in a black and white developer,
Mm-hmm.
take it out,
Mm-hmm.
put it in a stop bath,
Yes.
and after it stops developing,
The black and white.
the black and white, so all the chemicals on the paper, all the grains, the particles that reacted to light,
Yes.
now reacted to the black and
Developer.
white developer. And then you stop that process in the
Yes.
stop bath. You wash it because you don't want any contamination with the chemistry.
Uh-huh.
And then you turn on the light. And what happens in that moment is that all the grain that did not react is now reacting
to the color.
to the color. And to the light.
Yeah.
That off now.
Yes.
And that's so everything you developed in the black and white stays there.
Yes.
And everything that didn't develop in the black and white
Now
is now
gets
gonna
light.
develop in the color.
Yes.
And then you bleach it, and then what the bleach does is that it removes the black and white layer that was
The
left
bleach.
there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can also do a bleach bypass with these, which is gonna increase contrast because it's gonna leave that your highlights.
And wash out the colors also, right?
Actually, it's gonna decrease contrast
Yeah.
because it's gonna keep the highlight
Yes.
down.
It's a much more flatter image.
Yeah. So that's the process, super simplified. And then you can do...
And as you say, the difficult part here is that in order to get accurate colors, if that's what you're looking after, you need to be very careful with the filter pack that is used, because this paper, as you said, is only made to react to tungsten light that is used to project the negatives onto the paper. Basically, that's the issue. And I think that Brendan has done crazy work on experimenting and trying to find how the light can be modified in order to get this amazing work that he does.
Yeah, he does convert like crazy spaces into cameras. One of his first projects that got famous for is that he turned what do you call it? Like a mobile home.
Mobile home. Yeah.
He turned a mobile home to a camera. He turned a shipping container. And it was this project to like attract more people into photography. As we mentioned, he's a teacher as well. Negative Feedback actually did a video on that, and he shows you his black and white process in detail. Again, you can see Brendan's video as well. where he shows you how to turn your bedroom into a camera using a magnifying glass.
From the dollar store almost.
It's crazy.
It's really great. I think there's, as we were discussing, doing this kind of experiments is just like allows you to understand the basic concepts at such a high level. And I love in that video that you showed me yesterday how he turns the bedroom into this box camera obscura using things that you have all around. It really allows you to experiment with every single thing that might change the image of the photo, right? Like he was saying, oh, this is too big, so now I have too much depth of field and I cannot focus in what I want. Oh, I just cut down a stencil in cardboard, so I make the aperture smaller, so my depth of field is larger. And you see it there, like it's just so cool.
Right. It's so cool because he uses like the thing is that I'm gonna only use stuff that you can find in the house.
Yeah.
And then he uses cardboard, a magnifying glass,
tinfoil,
and one of these IKEA Kallax bookshelves.
Yes.
To hold the film, basically the paper. Is the paper. And then at one point he's like, you can use a spaghetti measure.
Yeah.
As an aperture.
Yes,
I was like, what is a spaghetti measure? Apparently it's a thing that you use to
open and close to know how many spaghetti you need to use depending how many people are gonna eat.
Yeah, it's like a portion selector.
Yeah.
The video you're watching right now is him just walking into his camera. That's I think that's a studio he did somewhere, but he also has a similar setup in his backyard.
Yeah, with the shed, the backyard shed. Super nice.
Yeah, this is a project he was working on for a week in September. So yeah, I just love this work. I mean, these images are brilliant.
I just think it's so creative and so like pedagogical as well, and of course like beautiful. Like these photos of the wildflowers are just so cool, and that some of them they're actually like negative, like some are like completely opposite colors.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Black and white, reversal, black and white, everything just looks. And the fact, I feel like the fact that he's doing it and looking at it as it appears, it's just, I've had this happen to me a few times. You know, I'm like, recently actually, I think I posted it quite recently on the story, is like, I took one of these pictures in Kiruna. I was like, I love the negatives more than the positives.
Oh yeah, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And it happens a few times before with black and white as well. Is that I feel like I'm happier with the negative, and I feel like I should start to take that into account when I'm taking a photo. Maybe I want to use this photo as a negative rather than a positive, right? So I think that this is a very important concept in the sense that when you're trying to make art with your photography, is that the lines, the borders are not there.
No.
I wanted to make a video a while ago, but I didn't. It was like the one rule that all photographers should know about. And is to stop watching any videos that say the 5 rules or the 10 rules. Yeah. Any video like this one, basically, is because all these videos are gonna limit you. It's like always use the what is it called? The rule of thirds, or do this with your eyes. So do this. Do whatever you want.
Golden rule. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Yes.
Just take your camera and have fun with it, and make something that you love. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, definitely. And experiment and learn. I just think, go and make a camera obscura with anything you can. Please do it. Last night we were like taking one of these lenses and putting it in front of the light, and it's like taking a watercolor paper and then like, oh, if we are this far away from this, like we can have a 4:1 magnification of this. It was just so cool.
Right?
Yes.
And we just took a lens and we tried to do something with it. Eva came in and I was hiding behind the curtain and she was like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm here behind the curtain. If you're gonna come, like, don't move it because I'm holding a big lens in my and then I took it out in the light because the room was dark enough, pointed on that lamp over there, and just in like few minutes we had so many different crazy ideas.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I really recommend that you guys check the work, and the website has a lot of, because he also did a very, very cool project, which is turning a whole level of a skyscraper into a camera obscura and projecting the building that was in front of it. And I think it was as famous as perhaps was the building in front was the Empire State Building or something like that.
Yeah.
Something very strikingly beautiful and big.
This is it. I pulled it up. And here you can see this is basically a big, kind of think of it like a conference room or whatever. It's just a big room with not a lot of walls and a lot of windows. And they just basically blacked out everything with cardboard, and they just made a hole here.
Yes.
This is the same. What you're looking at here is the same as as this, basically. So you have a hole in the wall and a mesh behind it for an artist to trace a painting.
Yes.
But here you have a mesh and the image is basically projecting on it through the lens. These lenses are, I think, he mentions that they're like military reconnaissance lenses from airplanes and stuff like that.
So big.
But you can use anything. Like, you'll be surprised.
You can use literally
with the magnifying glass. That one shocked me. Even, did you see the one where he found a
scrap lens from a glass?
Yeah, he found it on the floor. He was walking on the street and found this lens from a pair of glasses.
And it was all scratched and everything.
But it was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of effects, of course. If you modify your lens in some way, it would be really cool.
Yeah, so here you can see the floor that they were using. You can see them blacking out the windows.
It was a big project, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a workshop, so it was to introduce, I think, a lot of people also into this medium. And here is the lens mount, basically. And I think that's where you have your paper. You can just put your paper there, and then you can use many different methods to do the exposure. So large format cameras like the CNR, they have a thing called focal plane shutter, because large format lenses usually have the shutter built in.
Yes.
Or like attached to the lens and mounted on the board. But CNR makes this focal plane shutter, which sits behind the lens separately on the front standard. And if you don't know what is that, I can kind of illustrate here. So think of this as the front element of your large format camera. Your focal plane shutter will be here. So I don't know if you can see my cursor. I hope you can. So it sits behind the lens.
Yes.
And then it fires. And you can set your aperture, shutter speed, whatever you want to do. The aperture is on the lens, but that's another thing. Again, you can make it with a piece of cardboard.
Yeah, he literally, the one in the bedroom, he opened and closed
the
cardboard, and then that was the shutter. It's like, maybe it's a little bit too much, but then we make the aperture a bit smaller so we can still do it manually up and down.
Yeah.
And he got a beautiful photo. I was like, it's so beautiful, and it's like just like not even trying.
It's so crazy, right?
Yeah.
He just like lift up the cardboard up and down.
Really cool.
Right. Look at these. And you get these. So basically, in a sense, these are kind of non-practical Polaroids. This is what it is, because you're making a one-of-a-kind image.
Yes.
That is shot in a camera and then developed.
Yes.
That is not integral or peel apart. It's just you have to do development on the side.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that most of you are watching this know that the bigger the medium is, that like, so if you're going from 35 millimeter to 8x10, you get a lot of different things on your final image, in the sense of the depth of field, the characteristics of the image. And so imagine when you take it up to basically whatever you want. I mean,
like a whole wall of
yeah. I mean, look at this. This is giant, because this printing paper comes in in rolls.
Also for big
printers, and you can just buy that and slice how much you want and just make a
literally endless possibilities of big images. When I was, if we can talk about the other person that we found, I was looking into this idea of using the camera obscura for photography and whatnot, and I found, because I really, really like what Brendan is doing, and then I found in a forum someone commented, oh, he was not really the first one on doing this, and then they pointed to this other photographer, Abelardo Morell, which I share with you his website as well. And I also found some other people that are doing, of course they are not the only two, but I really particularly like what Abelardo did, because conceptually it means a lot to me. So what he did, using this concept of blacking out a window and then putting a lens on it to get a projection, instead of really having, let's say, a front standard or a place where you will put the paper, he let all that image to be projected into the room that he is in, and then he photographs the room. So conceptually, what he's presenting and he's working with is the idea of bringing the outside inside and making it one. And I just found that it was so beautiful to use these concepts of photography to get this dichotomy of the outside and the inside together, and then taking the photo of the room rather than what is outside, right?
Yep.
And some of them are really beautiful because the mix of textures of what's happening outside and what's happening inside. We saw one that was like a office conference room, and then you get all these like square buildings from outside. Or there was one that it was on the beach, and then bringing the sea inside into the room. And there's a lot of like iconic places as well, like the Brooklyn Bridge or the Empire State Building, and it's just,
I think this one is Paris. That's the Eiffel
might
Tower.
be, yeah, and then the Brooklyn Bridge as well before.
Yeah, these are beautiful. They're kind of like some people do it with the projector, with the whole projector, and then you can get this nice effect. But this one is actually just, it's a projector of some sort that doesn't use any batteries.
It's projecting the reality.
Yes, using the sun as a battery.
Yes, it's I don't know. I found it very, very beautiful use of the camera obscura concept.
It is. It is. I was actually, when I was, you told me about this one. I had no idea, but when I was watching the videos Brendan was making. Because he was showing you this, like you can see that the projector, that video you didn't see, he was commissioned to use this room to take a photo, and then he built this big canvas, he documented the thing, and I was like, when he turned the camera to see the projection falling into the room, I was like, this is a great photo, like
in itself,
I would take this photo, and then it turns out Abelardo is doing exactly just that, and doing great, beautiful work with it. That's, as you said, the showing the outside on the inside is just a beautiful idea. The fact that, especially like this one that I'm looking at, I'm not sure where is this, but it's a worn out wall with it seems like a wall. A door was like yanked off the wall, and then the outside also there's a building that looks worn down as well, and it's always hard to get the feeling. I mean, you can theoretically, if the sun is just right, take a photo of a room with the window open and you can see
both things at the same time.
Both things at the same time, but the way it's visualized in this sense,
and it's the dichotomy, the outside and the inside, the upside and downside, because you will have the image that is on reverse, and I don't know, it's a very special work and concept.
I agree.
He also did some work that is based on camera obscura concept, I think. I don't know, because I didn't read that much into it, but that he makes a tent, and then he makes projections of what is outside using a mirror, I assume, into the surface that is on the bottom, like on the ground, and then he takes a photograph of that. It's called the tent something.
There, I found it.
Yeah.
I have so many lights shining into my face, so it's hard to read. All right. So these are the ones you were talking about. Basically, he went outside with a tent and made a camera obscura inside of a tent. And you can see a lot of them. You can actually see the ground that he's projecting on. This looks like some kind of pebble.
There is one with the wooden ground that is just so cool.
Yeah. These are pebbles, I think, again.
Yeah.
Oh, these are old stones. What I think we call them stones, like the ones in old roads.
Cobblestones?
Cobblestones, yeah. This one is just bricks. This one is so nice with the hose. This is the beach one. You're seeing it delayed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No worries. It's like Brendan is really doing nice work because he's creating these cameras, but I think this pushes the concept of the camera Obscura one more step, which is including the environment that what you have to make the camera with in the photo itself.
Yeah. I mean, this is taking it back to the original form, in the sense that if you're an artist, if you're a painter and you want to trace the image, basically you're using whatever canvas you're using. So like you can have a different material canvas, I guess, and you have that texture in the image, and then you put the paint on top of it. What's happening here is that he's making a canvas with any surface. So these are beach pebbles. Then you have I don't know if these are beach pebbles. These look like, no, these are tiles with pebbles in them. But any floor, any piece of wood, any piece of whatever you have, he's using that as the material for the canvas, and then projecting the image on top of it, which is a beautiful idea.
Yeah. I'm very happy I found this.
Me too, actually. This is such a cool work.
I really love that we use the podcast for this, just like discovering people and showing cool work.
Right? I mean, this was the idea when we did the survey the other week about the technique versus gear. We said that it's kind of our mission to bring this more into the
concept.
Yeah, because we did talk about gear today, but it's again more about what you do with it. And it's fine if you love buying cameras. We love buying cameras. We're not judging. We're just thinking that it should be more
than just that.
Than just that. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Do you wanna go into the questions that we got this week?
Sure. Tim asked, how were you introduced to film? I think we did answer that in the first episode. I think we just got Tim that he's not watching as much as he says he does.
But we talked about like why do we shoot film, but maybe know what got us into film or photography as an art altogether.
Yeah.
Or what are your first memories of photography?
Well, I as I said on a previous episode, it was when I was a kid, and somebody left this 110 camera, and I just run around and like look through it and pretend that I'm taking photos, but I never had film in it. I don't think so. And there are cameras lying around, and then you take it, and people are like, "Oh, don't take too many photos," because film is not free. And,
it never was. Definitely.
And so I think these are the first memories, and then it disappeared. As I mentioned, where I come from is like not a thing to just walk around with a camera on your neck.
Yeah.
If you do, people immediately think you're a tourist. And did I tell you this? I don't know if I tell it on the podcast, the story when my friend was out taking photos for his architecture project.
I know the story, but I don't think you talk here.
It's a crazy story. Should I?
Sure, go ahead. Tell it.
All right, so my friend was working on his, as I mentioned, he's an architect. He was an architecture student, and he had his project, and he had to go outside. I wasn't part of the project, but it was part of the research, to go outside and take some photos of different buildings to get inspiration for his design. And so he was walking around, and where I come from is not like you don't have as much liberties. Cameras are not the thing that. It's always directly like people think that you're doing espionage or espionage is the right word?
Yeah. But you're basically trying to get information about something you should not.
Yeah, and you're evading privacy and stuff like that. Actually, I think they recently passed a rule because there was like a lot of young people who are getting into photography, and then you're not allowed to take pictures in public. So that's crazy. But anyways, and the other thing is that there are these like secret police people, kind of like informants.
Yes.
Informants, let's call them that.
Yes.
And they basically can be anybody, and they can be a cab driver. So as he was taking a photo, a cab driver stops, and he's like, "What are you doing here? Give me the film." And it was a digital camera, but that was early on. It was for the university, and he had borrowed the camera from the university. He didn't own it, so he borrowed the camera to take a few pictures. And then he's like, the cab driver is like, he shows, like, he identifies himself basically as a secret thing or whatever he is. And then he's like, "Give me the film. What are you doing? You're not allowed to take photos. Give me the film." And my friend's like, "It's digital." And he's like, "What? Give me the digital." Like, no, I can't give you the digital. It's like, there's nothing there. There's no film.
I have heard of the opposite story, which is someone that is with a film camera taking photos around, and then someone comes and is like, "I want you to delete my photo," and then they just go out, they do like they're taking some bottom, and the person goes like, "Oh yeah, okay, great." I was like, sure.
Yeah, that would be a problem if somebody wants me to delete a photo of a film roll.
You just try.
Yeah, it's like, you can come next week when I develop it, and I can put a hole in it for you.
That's good. It's a very good story. But yeah.
Where were we? How did
Have you ever had any problems shooting around in Lebanon?
Well, that story wasn't in Lebanon, by the way.
I was in Syria.
Yeah. I wanted to keep that a secret, but there we go. I mean, I guess it's fine. Look at your face. I mean, it's not necessarily a secret. You can know where I'm from, but I didn't want to be political about it.
No. We don't get into those things. Except if they don't let you take photos, then we get into.
Well, you can't take photos, so
yeah.
Let's not get into it.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you can. It's just that it's not as
There are many parts of the world where it is tough.
I think you need. You're allowed, but you need a permit.
Yeah. Like that happens in a lot of places.
I think that's a very interesting topic to go into, because I always get in this argument with people is about taking, because I used to do a lot of street photography, and that's one of the things that, well, to answer the question, after all of that, growing up, cameras were not necessarily a thing. They were for family vacations. I have a lot of photos of my childhood, but it's not. It wasn't like you pick up a camera to go and take.
Enjoy it.
Like, it's not a popular hobby. If you're an art student, yeah, but you're either a painter or you're a studio photographer, basically. Like, not a lot of landscape photos are being done over there, and so. Yeah, it's not the thing that you get introduced to from a different friend, and then you're like, "Oh, I like this," and you get into it. Because I think that's how most people get into it. You might visit a gallery and start asking questions, and you're like, "Oh, that sounds interesting," and you pick up a camera and you start doing work. For me, it wasn't like that. It was more like when I moved to Beirut, actually, I met a friend, and he was a photographer. And I, at the time, had a smartphone, and I was taking a lot of photos with the smartphone. I remember, since phones started having cameras in them, I was taking a lot of these photos. And I was really enjoying it, not doing anything with it. I don't think social media was even a thing at the time yet. Or I didn't feel like I want to share my photos on social media, because I was just enjoying them for myself. And so then I met this guy, and he's like, he is Nadim.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's watching. Hey Nadim.
Or if he listens later.
Yeah.
Hi.
And so he was like, "Hey man, you have really nice eye for composition. This is," and then he would be like, "This is a cool something, like, like Dutch angle or whatever. Like, it's a good use of the Dutch angle." I'm like, "What?"
It just looks good.
I don't know. I just like, so he's like, "Oh, maybe you should learn more about it." And that's how I started. To answer Tim's question, how did I get into film? Is I think I saw a medium format camera of some kind. It was at some point. And as I said in a previous episode, again, I think I mentioned that medium format was not a thing growing up. People had point and shoots. Some had DSLRs. I think my dad had DSLR because my dad liked photography. But again, He still does. He does like to take a lot of photos until now with his phone, and he likes to edit them and stuff. But it wasn't like he liked to take portraits of family members and stuff like that. And again, it was not something that I could necessarily play with because it was more expensive to develop film, and you know. And so I saw a medium format camera for the first time. I think it might have been a Hasselblad somewhere on the internet, and I was like, "What is this camera?" And I started looking at photos of medium format, and I was like, "Oh, how is there an equivalent in digital?" And then I was like, "Oh, there are digital Hasselblads, and they were so expensive." And I was like, "Okay, I don't think I can do that." And then I, kept looking and looking and looking, and I learned that all about the different cameras that you can pick up a Agfa, what's it called? Something. The one that's based on the Sunny 16 rule. The one that we have. Agfa Isola.
Yeah.
For nothing, basically. You can maybe pick it up for free somewhere. Put a roll of medium format and get beautiful medium format images. And so, yeah, that's how I got my first camera was the RB67. But yeah, and now we're here.
You went into to a good camera and format because not a lot of people go into film directly into medium format.
Yeah, I mean, I was, so here's the thing, I loved Micro Four Thirds. Like that was my go-to camera. I had an APS-C. That was my first camera. Was a Nikon. It was two Nikon's bodies. My dad had one for work, stole it, and then he got me for my birthday a D7000, and then I shot that camera for years until I was working here in Sweden, and I was like, I'm gonna go treat myself to a camera because I haven't treated myself to anything in a while. So I went and bought a Micro Four Thirds, and you know how much I love the Micro Four Thirds. Here it is. You can wave to it. That's the one. And yeah, it's a beautiful camera to use. I'm not necessarily against digital in any sense, no.
Oh.
And I didn't even expect that I would love to shoot film as much as I do now. But the thing was that I knew a lot about cameras at the time, about digital cameras. So I love gear and I love technology and all that stuff. And when I know about full frame cameras, but I wasn't really sold on the idea. Like they were much more expensive. They lacked a lot of the features and the compatibility that the Micro Four Thirds have. So I decided to go with Micro Four Thirds, knowing that, yeah, I'm losing something in the image quality, but I'm gaining a lot in the experience of making photos versus a bigger, chunkier camera that is a full frame. The Sony's, the big mirrorless, were not yet as good at the time. Now they're really, really, really nice.
And very, very, very expensive.
Yeah, that's true. But I will say that, yeah, I mean, I'm happy that the Hasselblads are as expensive as they are the digital ones, because I don't think I would have had as much fun and learned as much if I fell into that world
on digital.
Instead of yeah. And they're great cameras, absolutely.
Definitely.
But I'm having so much more fun here. I mean, these photos that we're looking at today, I think this one is super nice. I'm going to keep this one on for a while. So what about you, Eva? Tell us your story.
Oh, my story. So my earliest memories of photography, I think probably is I have always been very attracted to the kuchung of my father's Minolta. The sound of when the photo was taken was always like a happy moment for me. I don't really know why, but it just the attachment, the emotion and the memory that I have attachment to this camera is how it sounds. And still that I love to hear how the shutter sound and the mirrors coming up and down and things like that in cameras. So those are the earliest memories. My father does like art in general and photography in particular, and he had a Minolta. He also had a Polaroid that basically has photographed my whole childhood, and I really enjoyed because he would take actually time to sit me down and say, okay, sit here, I'm gonna take some photos of you. Or he would actually take photos also of trips and landscapes, and they would show me all their albums and stuff. So a lot of photos, and I'm telling you, I'm really looking forward to walk through all those photos with you.
Yeah.
And we even bought like a little a slide projector, not projector, but that you can put them and see them a bit bigger, because I know there's a lot of slides that my father took as well. So I'm really looking forward to go back and see all that work now with all the knowledge that I have about film photography, and really kind of put myself into my dad's situation when he was young and what he was doing with the camera. Because the memories that I have of him taking photographs is different than what probably the reality. But maybe looking at those photographs, I can walk down the path that he went through. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. So that's my earliest memories. And then I guess I was always very attracted to the art of photography. I remember going to museums with my family. I remember to really like looking at photographs that other people took, and I really love contrasty, very structural black and white photographies from very early on. But then, of course, digital was this thing. And my father had put the camera into the cellar or something. I never really saw it again. And I just got a digital camera because that's what was available. So that's why I started with photography digitally. And why I went back to analog, or like I wanted to get into analog, is because I started working in the lab. And then I knew in the lab, like scientifically in my career, I'm a biologist, and I started working in a lab in genetics. And I started thinking, like photography has a lot to do with science and the lab. So if I go back if I try to do some analog photography, I can also enjoy photography in the lab, which is something that makes me really happy. So that's why I actually went into film photography. And actually the first film that I shot, it was black and white. I started directly going into developing myself, in learning how to develop and how to print here in Uppsala in one of the dark rooms. And then I ended up being the leader of that dark room and that photo group for a couple of years as well. That led me to learn a lot about it. And that's how I started, basically.
Yep. I was shuffling through the
work by Abelardo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different things.
There's so many photographers out there. We're not gonna ever have not enough material for this podcast.
There's always something cool to
talk about,
discover and talk about. Somebody asked if you remember your first photo, right? Was it? I have a note of the question here, but you have the question.
Yeah, it was on the Instagram.
Yeah.
The question says, why do I say always when I'm trying to make time? The photo, it says, it's actually not in this one. Why do I have so many Instagrams?
I think he was asking if we do remember our first photo.
Yeah, do you still keep your first photo, the one that sparked your love for all of this? Or some that you remember, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome, Tim. Thanks for answering my question. I just gained vision to the chat once again because now I can look at it on the computer.
Nice.
Hey, Jesse. Hey, Yara. Thank you all for coming.
Yes.
So what was I saying? We're answering the first question. The first photograph.
If you remember, if you still have it.
Do I still have it? Well, I don't know. I mean, as I said, I started taking photos on my phone. And I have one of the pictures. It was actually one of my profile pictures on
selfies.
Super cheesy selfie. But I was like, I took this photo, and it was the Nokia N70. That's like the first phone that I had that had like a nice camera, and it also had an editing software, like some basic editing where you can add the frame, make it black and white, play with the contrast, and it's actually one of my profile photos that it's still there up on Facebook. But that phone got stolen. Somebody stole that phone.
Aye.
Yeah. So I don't have the photos that were on it because I just expected to keep having the phone until not to have it stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do not remember in that sense the photo I can't say that there was one photo that I took.
Yeah. Differs, or this one is like what the wow moment.
Yeah, but I do remember some of the photos, and I think I still have them. The ones that, as I mentioned, when I was talking to Nadim, and he was like, "Oh, these are really nice." I do remember these photos, and I do remember the times. I was working from a dad's company at the time, and we do a lot of interior design and stuff like that. So I had access to very cool buildings in the sense that they're still being built. So I walk in where the walls are not finished yet. So you can see inside the walls and stuff like that. And I used to use my iPhone 4 to like get close and, try to use the pipelines and stuff to just to make different compositions, because
that's very much the work that you like and you do.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
It's like one of my favorite things to do with photography is to create something like these old Soviet posters with these like big, like chunky diagonal lines and
Bauhaus style also. Yeah.
So architecture on a smaller scale have a lot of these intersecting lines that you can play with. So for me, it was that. What about you?
I don't think I remember my first photo or anything. I have two interesting things here. I do keep my first print. So my first print ever in black and white that I did in the lab, I have it in my office pin. So and it's a photo I really, really like. And that's special. And I remember everything about making that print, how I saw it coming up, and like how I tested the strips to see how many seconds of exposure. Like I remember everything. And I also remember how I took that photo because it was in Gröna Lund here in Stockholm. And I really like, also, shapes and symmetries and this kind of a bit of abstract feeling. So it was a photo of a lot of the different, how you call roller coasters that they go around. So the tracks of the roller coasters were making super cool shapes, and I took a photo of that, and that's the one I decided to print, and I really like it. And then another photo for sure that I have to have taken, even though I don't remember. I don't know if I told you when my father gave me his Minolta, it had a roll in it, and it was a Delta 3200. Super grainy by itself, but imagine that roll was midway shot, and then the camera was stored for 14 years. I got that camera, I see that there's still a roll in it, and I was like, I might as well just finish shooting it. So I went ahead and with some people out, I shot the rest of the roll, and I developed it, and everything came out. And the first half, it's photos of me being 11, 12 years old. And then the rest, it was when I was like...
You were taking the photos?
Yeah, 20 or something like that even. I was... the thing is that the last photo before the new ones is a photo of my dad sitting in his couch, the one that he's always sitting in the place we were living back in the day. And then in the background, you can see my mom working in the kitchen. So I had to have taken that photo because I am a single child, so there's nobody else at home. I don't remember taking that photo at all. But it's just so nice that I got that camera from my father. It was a midway roll. I finished shooting it, and the last photo before that hiatus of 12 years, whatever, it was a photo I took. So I don't know. I think it's like a cute story.
It is.
And one day maybe I can show you that photo. Yeah, I was looking if I had it in the computer, but it's in my hard disk.
I want to kind of. I was hoping that we can. Do an episode on Alexander Rodchenko one day, but I kind of want to, since I mentioned the topic, I kind of want to like go some of his work. These are like the things that I was thinking about with the Soviet old style posters, and so he was a graphic designer, I believe, and a photographer, and you can see how he utilizes very, very simple shapes to make his images. Not gonna go into it so much. I believe that his work can be a subject on its own one day. But yeah, that's what I want to mention really.
Yeah,
quick.
I think he should take some going through his life and the work. Really cool things.
Yeah. Anything else we want to get into today?
I think we will cover everything in the agenda unless there is any more questions left.
Oh, Tim is saying you should keep that film for as long as you're alive.
Yes.
Definitely.
And maybe even longer if I have anyone to give it to. No, it's a sweet story, and I keep that dearly. Even though it was, don't keep your hopes up. It wasn't a good photo. I think it was even a bit out of focus and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
but it means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's much more to photos than technicalities.
I know.
You know, it's important, especially if you're doing it for work, to get like technically perfect or close to perfect photos. But that's, you know, I wanna get into this. I had this idea in the shower the other day.
That's why you have your best ideas.
Yeah, right. I think all of us have the best ideas in the shower. But I was thinking that the people always because I used to always, or still always, have a camera on me wherever I go. Since I got that first Nikon DSLR, I always go out with a camera. That's why I went the Micro Four Thirds route, because it's easier to keep it with you. And people always ask me, why do you take photos? You know? And
yeah,
I'm
that's
and my answer is always, why don't you? Like, that's like, why do you? I never thought of why do I take photos. I just take them. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, it doesn't have just a clear justification in my head. And regardless, like of my series about the unpublished series about the corner walls.
Yeah.
I have so many pictures of walls, and they just make me so happy, and that's why I take them, I guess, because I just take the photo and I get like some nice feeling. Yeah. So it's like when you get thirsty and you take a sip of water.
Yeah.
Like why do you drink
water? It soothes your soul. It's right? I feel the same way than you. Although I think I've been a little bit less consistent than you. I think you have been much more. It has been much more part of your life in a longer period of time. For me, it's come and goes in bursts depending of life around. And I do remember periods of time where I was not really inspired. I was not shooting at all, and I was not like putting my mind into it. But I know why it was happening, because of other things. But I think like you, when I feel that, it's like it makes me feel good just to shoot.
Yeah, I think because we plan to have people soon on the podcast, and I think this is a really interesting question. I want to ask this question to everybody, even though it used to bother me when people ask it to me. It's like, what? I almost get offended when somebody asking like, why are you taking a photo? Because I feel like they think I'm invading their privacy or I'm spying on them, and in my head it can't be further than that. Like, dude, I take photos of walls when I'm by myself, so just leave me alone. I don't care about your life or necessarily trying to like stalk you or anything. It's just like, it's like, again, it's like me sipping water offending somebody else. It's just like, what? It's just mad to me. And so, but now I'm growing up, being less easily irritated. Not by much, but slowly.
At least by this question.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really interesting if we do and get guests on a podcast to ask them that question.
Yeah, to be a running question, like why do you take photos?
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
Hear the difference. No, that's very, very good idea.
Yeah.
On the other podcast I work with, we have also a running question, which is, what is your wish list for this topic, which is antibiotic resistant? And we ask it to everyone. So I have a long list of things that people would like it to happen in the area. So if anybody asks, like, what do we need here? Oh yeah, I have a whole list of things.
That'd be cool.
So it would be very nice to get a whole list of reasons.
Actually,
and they might be as varied as people are out there.
Imagine that you put it in one long like paragraph, all the answers, just like blend them together and then credit all the people in there. Just like, this is the story why I take, or why we take pictures.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Cool idea.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
See, I should take more showers.
Take showers, please. Please.
All right. I think on that note, we can end it here today.
Go take a shower.
I already did before.
That's true.
I think you
Maybe
can
I can.
Yeah. Anything else you want to get into before we end it for this week? Although I'm having so much fun, I know. I can pull a 3-hour podcast.
I know that you can go ahead and be 5 hours. But maybe just keep the ideas for the next one.
Yeah.
But I would like to thank everyone that joined us today, everyone that will join in the future and listen to this. And we are here weekly. We love about talking about everything, photography or art or images. And so.
Yeah, and let us know if you are interested in hearing us discuss other topics, because
also
we are very much interested in sciences, like social sciences and actual science. We're not very much into
no politics, please.
No politics.
That
maybe a little bit.
Depends.
We will see. It's just like a flowing conversation.
Yeah,
we would like to share these ideas, and we do talk about them, and we do enjoy other podcasts that talk about them, so we can get into subjects. If you guys are interested in us listening to them,
definitely
let us know. Thank you, Cherie. We are glad you made it this time.
Yes.
And as always, join us on the social medias and stuff. Get more involved in the conversation. And we really enjoy and love your contributions.
Yes.
Because we talk to each other, but we want to share the stuff with you that you are interested in.
Yes.
And as always, when you can't watch us, always the podcast is on Spotify and all the other apps.
And on the channel for forever and ever. So you can come back to it.
Yeah. If you don't make it in time, it's on the channel. All right. So thank you guys. Hope you have a wonderful next week. And we'll see you at the end of it next Friday.
Yes, Friday, 6 p.m. Central European time.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.